Hello and welcome to the show. So, a big problem plaguing South Africans to a large degree is the aspect of over-indebtedness. So, I was going to say debt, but I now realize after speaking to Abdul Quayum Camroodien, a debt counsellor, that there are various facets to debt, and the concept of over-indebtedness is perhaps what we need to look at. We all have debt. The fact that you owe the bank money for your car, the neighbor maybe some money, and perhaps owe a bond means that you have debt. But the aspect of over-indebtedness is what we're going to discuss. Abdul Quayum, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Faizal.
So I'm very used to the idea of counsellors, but now debt counsellors seems to be playing a very crucial role in the context of South Africa, because part of South African economics at this stage is talking about the aspect of people that are in debt and cannot manage their lives. And I'm saying their lives because I think that if you have debt, most aspects of your lives become very disjointed.
Faizal, if you look at debt actually, finances play a role in nearly every aspect of your life. If you are struggling financially, it will impact on you physically, it will impact on you emotionally. I've experienced families breaking down because of finances. I've experienced marriages breaking down out of finances. I've even seen a complete downgrade in work performances because of finances.
Listen, people kill themselves and they kill other people because of money. So it's obviously it's a big deal. But before you start, last night I took out some notes that I was just trying to find out what do we define as debt counselling. So I want to do this definition and then you can expand on that definition. The National Credit Act formally introduced debt counselling to assist over-indebted consumers by developing a repayment plan which is affordable to you as well as an acceptable modality for your credit provider. This process is intended to assist over-indebted consumers struggling with debt through budget advice, negotiation with credit providers for reduced payments and restructuring debts. You seeming like you agree at this point. To qualify for debt counselling, you need to be over-indebted as defined by the National Credit Act. That is, you are unable to meet your financial obligations in a timely manner. Obviously, we have a debt counsellor in place for that. And I think many of you need to stay glued to your seat when we come back from the break, because I know the number is over 70% of this country, means it's over 70% of my viewers are in debt. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to the program. I know that we now have a context of what debt counselling is about. We understand the country is in debt, but I want to roll the tape back first, and that is, I've given this definition according to what the National Credit Regulatory looks at from a debt perspective. What's your thoughts about that?
Faizal, you by word you perfectly describe what over-indebtedness is, but to the normal man on the street, they would be lost in your complete definition. What we need to understand what over-indebtedness is, when you look at your income and your credit obligations, which is your loans, your bond, your vehicles, your retail accounts, and you add up what your monthly expenses is. Now, a lot of people confuse credit obligations with monthly expenses. Monthly expenses are your groceries, what it costs you to get to work with transport, your school fees for your children.
Your cost of survival or your cost of living kind of thing?
Your cost of living. So when you do the test of over-indebtedness, it is taking your income and comparing it to your credit obligations as well as your monthly expenses. If your income is less than those two combined, you are deemed over-indebted. And this is where we as debt counsellors come in to negotiate repayment plans for you.
So before I go into the actual role of the debt counsellor, I just want to sit there for a few minutes again. What are we looking at exactly when we talk about South Africans as citizens, the status that they find themselves in from a financial point of view? What are we looking at exactly when it comes to over-indebtedness? Because let's disregard the debt aspect from an overall picture, because we understand everybody in this country perhaps is in debt somehow or another. But over-indebtedness, what number are we looking at?
I did a little bit of research and I wanted to give you this as per the NCR. The latest report by the NCR is that as per 2015, 11 million South African consumers are over-indebted.
11 million people?
Yeah.
But if you look at the aspect of being over indebted, I think that there are social aspects around all of that that can be discussed. So we're saying that 11 million people get up in the morning very upset, distressed, tired, not sure if they can get themselves out of this life that they're in. It's a big problem.
It's a huge problem.
And that will spill over to other citizens, because these guys are going to drive around like mad. Their social psychology is going to be on a high temperament. So we have a problem.
Faisal, what people don't understand is what finances and debt create. It creates social economical problems and psychological problems. If you do not have the money, it starts leading to theft, it starts leading to robberies, it starts leading to overspending or overlending. And these things impact on various levels. And people don't understand. That is why debt counseling is not an aspect of just doing administrative things. It's really a counseling session where you need to understand how the client got there, how the person put themselves in that situation. And through debt counseling, it is supposed to serve as a life lesson how not to repeat these mistakes. So if you're not getting counseled, you're defeating the purpose.
I want to stop you at the word counseling, because I think that even across just the if we look at the psychological aspect and the psychiatric terminology, a lot of people misunderstand the concept of counseling in general. People think that counseling is there just to blow off steam and then move on. That's not the case with debt counseling.
No, it's
you
not.
have a strategic process and advice to take someone out of the fire that they're in.
100%. Faisal, if I could take you through my process, it would show you that the process in my profession, how I do it and how it's supposed to be done, is that it's about understanding the client situation, understanding how he got there in the first place, and how to rehabilitate him so that he doesn't repeat these mistakes. Because with debt counseling, you get an opportunity to start over. The new term that I like using at the moment, it is an intervention program. We step in to help. But it's not about giving you financial relief and that's it. It's about guiding you forward. It's about allowing that person after years to be able to sleep again at night. And if you don't understand the process, it will merely just become another route out. And that is not the objective of debt counseling.
Of course, I want to take a back step again. Abdul Quayum Camroodien, Aidez Moi, that's what you call the company. And you've been there, done that. We've been watching you for a while. We understand that you are the debt counselor at the moment. You're getting people out of the doldrums that they find themselves in. But where did it all start for you and your company, and why?
Okay, Faisal, 8 years ago I registered as a debt counselor, and naturally...
I want to go before that.
Okay.
Were you on the other side of this coin at some stage in your life?
I didn't think you'd touch on that, but 100%.
You know why I asked? Because a lot of people say, but you're a good producer and you're a good TV host, but I was on the other side also. And I think that makes experts.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you actually did like intense research, but I'm glad you did that. Yeah. Prior to being a debt counselor, I was actually a speculator, and what I did was I used to buy repossessed property. And that time I was on the other side of the line where people defaulted on their homes. I used to purchase them and I used to fix it up and resell it. What changed in my life was, even though it was a business, I was the person evicting people from homes. And on the one aspect it's a business, and on the other side of humanity it was very, very challenging, because that night they did not have a place to sleep. But
at the same time you were running a business.
And on one side I was running a business. But things changed in my life, and I was granted the opportunity to perform Umrah. And it was at that point in my life where things changed for me. And I was told, or I was guided to a point where it's now time to help those people. Instead of getting evicted, is there an opportunity to prevent this? And through debt counseling, it can be done.
So that's how you get into the framework, because I like the idea that if you look at yourself and Aidez Moi as the company, I like the idea when people do things, they do jobs that actually benefit other people, but it's actually their work at the same time. And I think debt counseling does that, and that is that you're taking people out of their problem areas, not by just having a casual chat with them, but into a new space to revive their lives, and at the same time you doing your job in terms of your career progresses, and you're building your company at the same time. I want to go into the nitty-gritty aspects, but I made some notes here which I want to go through with you. So there are pros and cons.
Yes.
And what do you want to discuss first?
Okay. First, Faisal, if we could, I want people to understand what debt counselling is.
I think that's a good thing. Can you take us from the first point of call? So for viewers at home, you're in debt. Step one is that you're going to phone Aidez Moi Abdul Quayum because you have a problem. And this is what you're going to see and hear through as we go through the stages of debt counselling.
Okay. Faisal, debt counselling in my profession and the way Aidez Moi behaves is that at point of contact, when a client contacts me, the first thing we do is ask what the problem is. And we would have discovered over the years that there are various factors that get people into debt.
Is the problem not always the same? And that's I'm in debt.
100%.
Okay.
It's every person gets treated individually because circumstances are different.
When they call you at that point, they are stressed out and I don't know where I'm going and my wife is going to go, my children's are going to talk to me.
Faisal,
All of that's going on.
it's going to be actually shocking to you at the moment that the highest point of contact, it's either from mothers or it
Really?
is from wives.
I thought it would be the husband and the sort of primary alpha breadwinner.
That's what we generally think, but it's not. Because we need to understand when it comes to men, it's also a pride issue. And a point of asking for assistance means that he's defeated. And so a man's not always willing to accept he's being defeated. I know a lot of men that do come to me, they then say, you know what, I'm man enough to have asked for help. And I acknowledge that. But there are a high percentage of men that can't do that. So what happens is the wives or the mothers will phone. And this is what I'm experiencing a lot. When they'll say, please assist my son, or please assist my daughter. Or the wife will tell me and say, you know what, we've settled our finances and we need your assistance. What I then do at this point is one or two things. No problem. I never ever downplay anybody because they know their finances better than I do. So what I then do is I offer them an opportunity to schedule an appointment at the office, or I generally go out to homes.
So that's the first consult.
That's the first.
And there's nothing to be shy about. It's just like any other issue that we have.
100%.
You treat everybody with the same, you paint them with the same brush, and it's we call it unconditional positive regard, that you have no preconceived idea of it.
100%. You know, Faisal, what I tell my people or my clients at the very beginning is that I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help. And the only thing I expect of all my clients is to be honest to me. Because if they're not honest to me, I cannot assist them. And this is, I feel as if I'm in a consult at the moment, because this is exactly what I do. I tell them, just be honest to me, tell me how you got here, and you'll generally find out it's either change of employment, or it was a family loss, or it was a demotion at work, or it was job, they lost their job. There are various factors. You then get to the other side of the coin.
Essentially, you're saying life happens.
Life happens.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes there's also the factor of lack of education. If we look at the amount of loans that are available to people and how easily it is attained, there's no education about it. It's just the access to it. So when people find themselves in the situation of loans and they have to repay it, they don't realize they're actually decreasing their earning potential. And I need to first discover what the factors are that got them in these places. So it takes about 10-15 minutes to learn, to understand how the client got there. Once that has been established, the next step I then do is I then put the solutions on the table. What we can and cannot do. I go straight to it because I don't want people to have a misconception of how I'm going to assist them.
So let's just sit at that point for a moment. So the client is sitting opposite you. They spill their heart out and they say, this is what happened and this is how where it all went. Do you then send the client back and come back with a strategic plan, or do you run them through what you as a company do to solve their problems and then engage them?
No, what I do is, if they have the time, and I generally tell my clients when I come to their homes, prepare coffee, because I'm very thorough when it comes to my work. I take them through the steps from the first point until they become debt free. And it's not a quick fix. Sometimes it takes up to 3 years for some people. Some people it's up to 5 years, all depending on their credit obligations. When they come to the office, I generally schedule half an hour for people to first come in to understand who our company is, who I am, and how I can assist. most of the time, about 90% of the time, they stay, and it goes over into an hour and a half, which I don't mind, because I have a firm belief that if we do it correctly at the beginning, we don't need to repeat ourselves throughout the process.
So the client then gets into a contractual arrangement with you and your company as a debt counsellor to make sure that you fulfill your obligations to them. That would, in my view, also feel to them that there's a bit of peace of mind that they've signed a contract to help them out of the process. Is that the process?
To an extent, yes,
Yeah.
but the contractual obligation is not to the debt counsellor. The debt counsellor is merely a medium. The contractual obligation via a court order is with the creditors.
I see. So so that's the next point I want to start going to. I want to just refer to my notes because I know that some of this has come up here. There are a couple of pros, and I want to mention the pros from what I know here, and I want you then to explain all of that. Some of the pros that I want to impart with you is that when you're in debt counselling, creditors cannot take action against you, and you can expand on this. There is no permanent record of having undergone debt counselling, so I suppose it's like when you go to court and they take a judgment against you that sits on your name for a while. There is no record of the counselling when you come out of all of this. There's only one monthly payment to be made, which I think you need to take us through. Your budget will meet your basic needs first before provision is made for debts, and that's what Kayo mentioned earlier on, and that is that we're not taking away from the money you need to spend on food and electricity and all of that. You'll never pay more money than you can afford. A debt counsellor will suggest ways of cutting costs and saving money. You will no longer get calls from your creditors demanding payment because they've made arrangements on your behalf. Can you take us through that?
Okay, Faisal, what we need to understand is that debt counselling is a legal process.
Yes.
It's not a process that is...
That's crucial, just what you said now.
It's a legal process.
It's not a friend talking on your behalf.
100%. We are regulated by the NCR. We have a registered attorney that needs to represent the client in magistrate's court. The reason for that is if clients, many clients do opt sometimes to go to the creditors themselves to make rearrangements. Now, the problem with that is that a creditor still has the right to agree and to disagree. And most of the time, they only give 3 months arrangements. And after that, they want to go back to their normal arrangements. And if you don't adhere to it, they take legal action. What debt counselling offers is that once a debt counsellor has assisted you or assist you, and we get to a point on affordability, this is what the client can afford to pay his creditors after seeing that he has sufficient money for his monthly expenses. We then give it to an attorney who then presents it in court in front of the magistrate, and the magistrate has the opportunity then to say, I grant a court order and accept that this is the payments the creditors have to accept.
So at that point, by logic, that if a court order is granted, it means that nobody now can come and apply the pressure that they want to because there's a court-ordered process in place.
That is the whole idea. You must remember that there is no higher ruling than the magistrate court.
Correct.
If the magistrate court makes a decision, you can be what creditor, there's nothing you can do. But there are obviously cons to it as well. You need to adhere to the court order. If you default on a payment, your court order falls away. So there are some cons to it, but we are obviously just first concentrating on the pros. Pros number one takes me back to what you spoke about me earlier on. At this point, your house can never be repossessed. Your vehicle can never be repossessed.
Despite you getting all that calls and that those call centers phoning you with the numbers that you don't recognize, saying you need to make those payments, you saying that when this is in process, they need to stop calling you.
They can actually waste their time and give you a call.
Okay, good.
What I tell my clients is the general wording that goes out there, and it's funny, is don't speak to me, speak to my lawyer. And the point when I walk away from you, you now tell your creditors, don't talk to me, talk to my debt counsellor. Because at that point of acceptance, we deal with every single thing. When I'm talking about creditors, I'm talking about negotiation, I'm talking about legal, I'm talking about the court order. We handle everything. So we leave our card, we leave our number, and let them phone me. And it's at that point where you realize creditors start backing off.
And Shayman, the guys in the call centers that phone and say, yeah, but if you don't pay, we're going to take your house. All the stress are gone.
It's gone. Automatically, it's gone. One, you must remember the battle that we are facing with Faisal is at the moment is creditors obviously are there and there's an obligation towards them.
Yes.
We're not the creditor's friends,
Yes.
because we are not going to let them get what they originally want. But the law now protects the client. The law now says the client can't afford it, yet he does want to pay you. Don't get me wrong, he wants to pay you. He just can't afford it.
Yeah.
So let's get what he can afford and satisfy both
Yeah,
parties.
he could have afforded it when you did your affordability study, when you gave him
The loan,
credit
100%.
for the loan. However, circumstantial issues have come into place to make sure that that affordability is not there anymore.
So we step in and say, we're intervening and saying, okay, please don't take action, because with legal action comes legal cost. So instead of the poor person that is, and I don't mean poor as in financially, I'm talking poor as in
From a sympathetic point of
circumstances,
view.
yes. The person is sitting in a situation, I already can't afford this debt. Now you're throwing legal cost on me as well. So we prevent all those things from taking place. And being on the one side, from seeing people lose their homes, I'm now in the position to say, you know what, we can actually stop that from happening, if you obviously act soon enough.
Correct, yes. With regards to once we have the court order issued, does the client himself have to refer people to you all the time? Or is there documentation in place where they could also mail that documentation to their creditor saying that I'm under debt counselling at the moment?
No. You remember you asked me the question earlier on, does the client come to me and I'm responsible, or the contract is between myself and the client? What happens is that I get mandated by the client to act on behalf of the client.
Okay.
So I sort of become the policeman, or big
Yes.
brother, if you want to call it that way.
Yes.
I need to ensure that the consumer is paying the creditors, and we use a company called Hyphen, which is a payment distribution agent. What they do is they'll debit the person's account with the amount that I've instructed them. Because obviously I do the assessment, I see the test of affordability and all those things. So we instruct Hyphen to debit the account, and they distribute it accordingly to the creditors. The beautiful part of the company and the software that we are using is, on a monthly basis, the consumer will get an email, a statement saying, this is what was deducted and this is what we paid. So you could, on a monthly basis, also monitor where your money is going and how your accounts are
So
decreasing.
that just brings up another question to me. So effectively, we said that one of the pros was to, effectively, if you have 10 debts, for example, that's unmanageable, out of control, they come to Quayum and they say, okay, you go through the process and you put the strategic plan in place for them. You're effectively saying that you're not going to deal with the 10 people anymore. You're going to pay one account and we'll deal with all of them.
100%.
I must admit that for any person that's indebted in numerous spaces with 10,000 people phoning them, I think that, I mean, look, that has an impact on your self-esteem and as an individual also. I mean, if 3 people phone you for the day and you're going out for a family picnic, you're probably going to change your mood after those 3 calls. But if you know you're only dealing with one company and you're only making this one payment, there must be a sigh of relief for all of that.
When I started this journey, Faisal, it was genuinely to assist people. And when you look at the situation at the moment, is people through lack of education grasp at things for quick fixes, and quick fix always brings out long-term problems. Now when we look at the situation, a lot of people are now also indoctrinated with the word consolidate. Now what
What's
we
the word
do
is consolidate your debt.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we do in a nutshell, the term consolidate is a good way to define it, but it's not a consolidation. What we do is we actually give you one amount with all the debtors included, because the word consolidated is actually very synonymous to a consolidation loan, which people need to be careful of, because a consolidation loan is another loan. We were debt counseling, we're actually using your current income, and we are using that to repay your current debt with no additions onto it.
Interesting. Okay, I want to go into some of the cons. Although when I read the cons, I thought to myself that they
It's
are
not
pros.
really cons, eh?
They're pros at the same time. They're protection mechanisms, in my opinion. I mean, close the aircraft door because it's going to get a bit windy, but you can't fly with the door open. That's the point. So, cons. You're not allowed to have more credit while undergoing debt counseling, which is good for you. It's like, being on cold turkey for drugs, but you want more drugs. It's the same thing. It does cost a little bit of money, and I want to get into that aspect, but the fees are set by the law. I want you to expand on that. And lastly, your debts might take longer to pay off as a result of paying small amounts each month. You can explain? Can I go through the first one?
Yeah, let's do one at a time, Faizal.
Okay. Okay, we're discussing the cons, but we looked at three specifically. I'm going to go for the first one. It says you are not allowed to have more credit while undergoing debt counselling.
Okay, Faizal, that is, I fail to understand how it's a con. And I'd like the opportunity, obviously, to explain it. We need to first ask ourselves the question, what is the objective of debt counseling? And a lot of people, it's being sold as this concept of how to save money, which is incorrect. Debt counseling is not about saving you money. Debt counseling is actually about putting you in a better position than you previously were. And with a lot of cons that I hope we're going to touch on a bit later is how to prevent this from happening. And when they say don't make more debt, if the objective is to get you out of debt, it obviously needs to stop you from making more debt. If you're going to be able to make more debt, you're not going to stop the cycle. So what the NCR and the regulations are saying that if you're into this program, let us assist you by getting out of it.
Yes.
Once you are out of it, you now can look at life differently and say, listen, do I need more credit or don't I? What have I learned? What haven't I learned? But
I think that's pertinent because it's the same as saying that someone is in there for a drug rehab, but it's fine, you can have it on the weekends.
Exactly. And
We're never
it's
going to
not
get
going to
out.
help. You're never
going to get out.
Yeah. And what unfortunately we are faced with a lot of people that are what I like to term as credit addicts. They can't help it. They always want to buy on credit. And we need to teach them that you can live cash. If you can't afford it, you don't buy it. And some people have not been educated about it. Some people don't know how to budget.
I think that, just touching on that subject, I think that it is my opinion that the consumeristic environment that we live in and the marketing approaches that these corporates take in the way that they push out their marketing to people obviously has some psychological approach in getting you to remain there at the same time. Then they complain you owe them money. But at the same time, they're putting up the billboard, creating the desire. And it creates a desire in any human being to drive the latest Mercedes-Benz once they show you all those features.
Did you, Faizal, I pose a question to you. Do you know how quick it is to get approved for a loan?
I think you could do it online nowadays.
Yeah, online. It can take you within an hour approved money in the bank. Now, my question...
Really?
Really.
You give me that way.
My problem with that is, Faizal, is that what people don't realize is, yes, they got the money, but you need to repay for 12, 24, 36 months. That money will be up in 2 months' time. Then what? You're sitting with an obligation that you could not afford in the first place.
Correct.
And that's my problem with the industry.
Of course. Going to number two, it does cost a little bit of money, but the fees are set by the law. So we're talking about the fees that the customer or client needs to pay the debt counselor in your company. Tell us about those fees. They say it's set by the law. I'd like to know how that works.
Okay. What the NCR, and I appreciate what the NCR did, is that we are given as debt counsellors and the attorneys, we are given 60 working days to negotiate your file, to draw up all the proposals, to do the assessments, to get you, to prep your file.
So what I need to understand, what happens to the customer in that time?
He sits at home with full faith and confidence that we need to do our job.
What happens to the calls he's getting?
It starts to stop. Remember, right at the beginning, he now says, don't talk to me, talk to my debt counsellor.
Okay, so you're saying that the minute the client engages with you, or the person that's in debt engages with you, the minute they engage with you and they say, Quayum, you guys take over my affairs, from that very minute, even if you're negotiating with the creditor, they don't need to talk to this creditor.
Faisal, let's put it this way. We have the application forms called the Form 16. The client, we do the assessment, we test for affordability and all those things. And the client is happy and he says, listen, this program is going to assist me so that I can steadily move forward. And he signs on the document. This document now has a power of attorney for me to represent him, the attorney to represent him. At that point, when he gets up and leaves my office, he can now tell the creditor at that point, don't speak to me, speak to my debt counsellor. They should free him up from all the calls. You are going to get calls. Because also
you can defer those calls.
You start deferring the calls. Instead of avoiding them, you can now defer them.
Yeah.
And please contact my debt counsellor.
Okay.
We start representing you from the minute you sign that document.
Hey guys, if I was you at home, 70% of you, I would rush right now to get that done. Because You know what we call this problem shifting? Shift your problem to Quayum. So, okay, last one.
I never answered the cost.
Oh yes, the cost, yes, sorry.
So we have 60 days to obviously do the negotiation, the proposals, and it's not an easy feat, Faisal, because we're talking about big corporates. And when we talk about big corporates, they've got different departments. So it's this department to that department.
Getting through the right person, the account numbers and all of
100%. It becomes an administrative nightmare, but it's a nightmare we've taken on. Okay? So once this has been prepared and proposal been sent and it's been accepted and all those kind of things, we then have to send it off to our attorney, who then does the legal representation and preparation of documents.